March 1943. The Pacific War was at a turning point. Japan had expanded across Asia and Pacific, but the Allies were fighting back, slowly, brutally, and at great cost. The Japanese believed that by reinforcing their armies in New Guinea, they could stall the Allied advance and secure their empire. A convoy of 16 warships and transports set out across the Bismarck Sea, carrying nearly 7,000 troops. But the Allies had been preparing. What unfolded over the next 48 hours was one of the most decisive and innovative air battles in history. This is a story of the Battle of the Bismarck Sea, where a new tactic changed the face of naval warfare forever. New Guinea was critical. Whoever controlled it would dominate the approaches to Australia and the shipping lanes of the South Pacific. For Japan, failure to reinforce the garrison that would mean losing the chance to cut off Australia from America. The convoy's commander, Rear Admiral Masatomi Kimura, had a difficult task. His transports carried the 51st Division, fresh soldiers meant to bolster Japan's defenses. His destroyer escorts were tasked with shielding the fleet from Allied bombers. Meanwhile, the Allies had cracked Japanese codes. They knew the convoy was coming. General George Kenney of the U.S. 5th Air Force prepared a trap, determined to unleash the full power of his newly modified aircraft. Until now, high-altitude bombing against ships had proven ineffective. Bombs missed, ships maneuvered, and convoys slipped through. But in Australia, U.S. and Australian crews had perfected two revolutionary techniques. Skip bombing, releasing bombs at low altitude so they bounce across the water into a ship's hull. Parafrags, parachute-retarded bombs that could devastate decks and anti-aircraft crews. The B-25 Mitchells were redesigned into deadly gunships, with 8.50 caliber machine guns mounted in the nose and more in the waist and wings. These aircraft could shred a convoy with pure firepower before dropping their bombs. On February 28, 1943, Kimura's convoy left Rabaul. 8 troop transports, 8 destroyers, nearly 7,000 soldiers. They steamed south toward Lae, New Guinea, under strict orders to arrive within days. But Allied reconnaissance planes shadowed them relentlessly. The Japanese suspected they had been spotted, but pressed on, relying on speed, escorts, and cloud cover to protect them. The first Allied strikes came on March 2nd. Heavy bombers from high altitude forced the convoy to scatter, but inflicted little damage. Japanese sailors gained confidence. Perhaps they could survive after all. But this was only the beginning. At dawn on March 3rd, the Allies launched their full assault. Wave 1. B-17 Flying Fortresses attacked from medium altitude, breaking the convoy's tight formations. Wave 2. B-25 Strafing bombers came in at mast height, unleashing torrents of machine gun fire. Japanese anti-aircraft crews were mowed down before they could even return fire. Wave 3. Skip bombers released their deadly weapons. Bombs skidded across the waves, slamming into hulls with devastating precision. One transport exploded in a massive fireball. Another broke apart and began sinking within minutes. Soldiers leapt into the sea, only to be struck by Allied machine guns or caught in burning oil slicks. Destroyers tried to rescue survivors, but they too became targets. Within hours, the sea was littered with wreckage, fire, and bodies. Survivors described the horror. The roar of aircraft overhead, the shriek of bombs skipping across the waves, the sudden eruptions of fire that tore ships apart. Many Japanese soldiers never even made it to shore. Out of nearly 7,000 troops, only about 1,200 survived. The rest were lost, drowned, burned, or cut down as they tried to escape. Allied pilots, too, carried the memory of what they had seen. The sea turned black with oil and red with blood. By nightfall, the Japanese convoy was annihilated. 8 transports and 4 destroyers lay at the bottom of the Bismarck Sea. For Japan, it was a devastating blow. Never again would they risk sending large troop convoys in daylight. Their campaign in New Guinea began to unravel. For the Allies, it was proof that air power, properly used, could decide battles once thought to belong to navies. The Bismarck Sea confirmed the dominance of air supremacy in modern war. Historians later called it one of the most decisive AC engagements of the war, not because of the size of the fleets, but because of the innovation it demonstrated. Skip bombing, strafing runs, and low-altitude tactics would be refined and repeated across the Pacific. The lessons of the Bismarck Sea shaped air naval warfare for generations. For those who fought, The battle was unforgettable. For those who perished, the Bismarck Sea became their grave. The Battle of the Bismarck Sea was not just a clash of ships and planes. It was a turning point, a moment when strategy, technology, and desperation collided in the vast waters of the Pacific. It marked the beginning of the end for Japan's Pacific ambitions, and the rise of air power as a true master of the seas.